This video will revolutionize the way you see Morgana, and it's all thanks to our beloved server mod Cereza who sent me these things that maybe might even explain this mysterious scene 7 years ago. We may have even found the connection of Morgana to the main antagonist. It was those horns, and to Cereza it reminded her of that of rams. Now they do in some interpretations symbolize the ability to not fear failure, knowing that it's a necessary training ground. Quite familiar with what we've seen so far. But regardless, keep these horns in mind. I promise you, this will all come together. But then Cereza pointed out her overall spider motif, the one on her chest. In chapter 1 of Origins, Morgana has a steel-coated charisma that is strict upon Cereza. However, she wears the violets on her wrist that Cereza innocently collected for her. In this same scene, it's revealed that she hides her underlying care and love for the forbidden child. Again, keep this in mind. The next clue was right in front of us, or more accurately, in front of Morgana herself. On top of the spider motif, you have the addition of the butterfly. Now, this could just be the symbol of the Umbra, or the spirit animal of the Umbra. But then Cereza then mentioned that there were some old forum discussions about the spider and butterfly dynamic, basically both signifying a concept of transformation and rebirth, which you can also tie to the legend of Morgan Le Fay, who could shapeshift, but I'm pretty sure you know where I am going with this. We both came up with two theories. Could Morgana be Madama Butterfly's previous contract or protector, who then bestowed her onto Cereza at the end or after Origins, since Morgana deeply cared about Cereza? But what Cereza came up with was some Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, manga vibes type of shit. What if at the end of Bayonetta Origins, just before Cereza gets hit by the antagonist, Morgana sacrifices herself last minute, and she is finally reincarnated as Madama Butterfly, which is why we've never seen her directly, but she's been with us all this time. The horns potentially growing into Butterfly's head. Cereza's first accessory bears resemblance to Butterfly's wrists, just like how she wore the violets very innocently. You also have the underlying connection hinting that Butterfly and Cereza had a special relationship more than that of a contract. And my favorite one, the spider motif that they miraculously and somehow updated in Bayonetta 3 in the release date trailer, on the same part of her body. I always knew this change was suspicious, where I even first mentioned it in the release date trailer when this new skin was shown. Therefore, what if Morgana, who is very familiar with taking care of plants, did something to Alraune either before or after being reincarnated in Inferno? Remember those carnivorous plants that I mentioned were similar to Alraune's? Could have Morgana betrayed Alraune, and that is why she hates Madama Butterfly, who was secretly Morgana? I'd also like to add that Alraune passed away by supposedly deleting herself. Could have Morgana made the poison that deleted her? Oh my god, I'm getting way too excited for this, I want to know. However, there are two things that prove this theory to be wrong or inconsistent. The first one is the vibe. Madama Butterfly has that direct, in-your-face, smiling while ripping you apart kind of demeanor, while Morgana has this strict Umbran Elder vibe. Now, here's what I think. I theorize, she could have just changed personalities, but I theorize that if you get reincarnated, you barely remember things from your previous life. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. This is getting into some Devola and Popola territory, which is one of my favorite heartbreaking tropes in pop culture. But I drew that theory from a very old theory of mine that Alraune was Joan's mother, who doesn't remember anything, but has this paternal connection that she subconsciously plays off as getting her or Joan's power. Could Madama Butterfly be subconsciously protecting Cereza, and they both don't know each other as the master and apprentice? The next debunking point is that Alraune directly says that it's been over a millennia, which is 1,000 years since Butterfly pissed her off, basically. Which means, chronologically and mathematically speaking, Madama Butterfly would have met Alraune before the events of Bayonetta Origins in Inferno, since we know Origins takes place in the 1500s and that millennia, quote, was in the present time. But who knows? Time could probably work differently in Inferno, they can retcon this, or maybe she was just exaggerating the numbers by like 150%. Now, what does Morgana have to do with the antagonist of this game? It really does feel like a brand new character that we've never seen before. Definitely a higher ranked fairy of some sorts, not me hoping hoping this guy is one of the 7 strongest fairies, or maybe even the fairy king in this timeline, or, you know, before Lukon, depending on which interpretation you choose. It has to be some sort of fairy royal. This brings me to the end credit scenes. One, it shows who is wearing those glasses and who is the one who's going to shut the book. But now, thanks to Crazy Gal, this is the second end credit scene. I want to see Morgana in Inferno after her death, either reincarnated as Madama Butterfly, or Morgana telling Madama Butterfly, if she is her former contractor and former demon, to take care of Cereza. And if you do want to know which timeline Origins will take place in, click this new video right here. I'm Rakun, and never get disheartened.